Okay. All right. So I went ahead and started it. I'll just explain. So the video conference like got cut off randomly. So Alexandra finished off her report with schools. Sorry, do you want to just do a quick recap again, Alexandra, of that last question, and then we'll move on?
Yeah, so I just asked, what do you feel contributes to children failing in school and that causing stress on the parents? I think I worded it differently when I asked her, but I didn't rewrite it because I was like, well, obviously parents not being involved contributes to it, but the way that she talked about it was that a lot of parents are very much in denial that their children's grades are because of them. So it sounds like their counseling center gets like some kind of extreme cases of like, I don't know, just really, really disconnected families. And so she was just saying sometimes it takes months and months of counseling for parents to see the results of them stepping into their children's education and helping them with their homework, because a lot of times they don't feel that that's why their student is failing. They think it's because of drugs or because of other things like really bad extremes, when in reality it's just that the parents aren't managing their children's time on a phone, on TV, anything like that, and they're just not involved with their homework, and parents unfortunately don't want to like accept that that's kind of their fault. So yeah.
Well, thanks for recapping that twice for us. I just sent the link off to Shelby. I don't know if anyone got the text from her, but so she should be joining us shortly. But would anyone else like to start in the meantime?
I can go.
Cool. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Mine's quick. So I did mine where I actually interviewed the supervisor, head person of the place where I ended up doing my internship, which is for Journeys. I don't know if any of you have heard of Journeys here in Idaho. It's not the shoe store, but Journeys is an organization that works with children with disabilities, and it works on like skill set, behavior modification, things like that, taking children. They have an adult program too, but children out into the community and working on helping them learn how to be normal people in a big society and how to function. So it's really neat. But anyways, I just had to preface that because she kind of goes at all these questions thinking about families with children who have disabilities. And so she answers all of them from that standpoint. And so how she got involved with Journeys is she was working for another program, the Department of Health and Welfare for the Infant Toddler Program. And she said if her contract was being cut eventually and she needed more supplement hours, and so she started working here, and then she loved it, and then she got promoted to being a supervisor. And so that's how she got involved. So the second question, what do you see are the most prevalent problems for families here in the community? And she talked about how she feels the largest program is people don't know what services are even available to them. She says that a lot of families feel stigma or guilt for having a child with a disability, and they don't know how to take care of that, and they don't know what is available to them. So she thinks that's the biggest problem, that they just need to be made aware, because she doesn't think that everybody would deny all that help and like everything that they can have for their children if they just knew about it. And then I actually asked my two other questions in the middle of my interview, and so I asked her how important she feels a community's involvement in a family or a child's life is. Like, how important does she really think it is? And she said paramount. She said that a community should be willing to support a family, and that should be the point and purpose of a community. And so she says that there needs to be activities provided for children to go to, and like programs where families can go and learn and grow, and where they can, kind of like in our readings, she was talking about developing that unity. And she says that it's really a community that's going to help a whole family who does have a child with a disability, because it's hard to take on that on your own. The second question I asked is, do you feel that people and families should become more involved in the community than they already are? Um, and she said yes, because she feels that too many families are embarrassed or feel that their children are a hindrance or disruption to others, which makes them want to avoid going out into the community because they're afraid of disturbing others' peace, or just it's hard to take a child with a disability into the grocery store sometimes because of the scene that they might make, or how much harder it is for them to actually do grocery shopping while they have their child there. But she's saying that that's not a reason to avoid it, that they should still be getting involved in the community and teaching their children those different skill sets. And not only that, but she says that the only way that the community is really going to stop having that stigma, or that the impression that they do of children with disabilities, is if they're actually seeing that in the community more. So she says that the more that people go out, the less they're going to be embarrassed, because they know that everybody's kind of dealing with their own problems. And then, like, it'll become more of a norm to have families participate in things, even if there's a child with a disability there. And so then going back to the original questions, how does Journeys help children and families locally? Journeys, so we do provide services for the children. We take them out, or they would take them out into the community and work on different skill sets and goals, but they also teach the families. They have family teaching times and different family interventions, so that everything that they're teaching the children can get reinforced at home, because they understand and know that that if they can do all the work that they want, but if it's not being reinforced in the home, it's really not going to stay or last. And so that's one thing that they do to support family. They also do what she was telling me about, what they do respite, which is care for families if a mother or a father or somebody needs just like a little bit of rest time. They are able to use Journeys as a help for that. Like if the mother does need to go grocery shopping and she wants to get it done quick and she just needs a little break, Journeys provides care for that child. Another thing that I actually really like that she told me about is they do what they call respite parties, and once a month on a Friday night, they'll allow any children to come, as long as they know about ahead of time, because there's a 1-to-1 ratio, one child per worker. But they have the children come so that the parents can go on a date night on Friday night once a month. And I thought that one was really neat because it's also working on supporting the family. It's not just working on the children's goals or anything. It's working on creating that peace and family unity and keeping the parents happy. And so I just really liked that when she told me about that one. The last one, do you feel your organization is child or family focused? In other words, does your organization strive to strengthen the family or to step in to help children where families are failing? And she said both. And I'm just going to read how she said this because I don't know how to reword this. She says we teach the child skills, but also teach the parent the same skills. So kind of like I was saying earlier, how they do it at home there. And so that's kind of what she was saying. But she says that she understands that the family has to be willing to follow through with the reinforcement. Otherwise, you're not going to see any behavior modification or a change in the child's behavior or skills. And so she thought that it was super child and family focused because they do work with both and teach both side by side. So yeah, that was my interview. It was fun.
Awesome. It sounds great. Thanks for sharing. Who would like to go next?
I'll go really fast. I'm sorry if I sound horrible. I've been sick the past 4 days. So bear with me. But so I am actually doing my internship at the Kern County Public Health Department, or the Department of Health, this semester, which is really cool. So this assignment was really cool. But I interviewed the public relations director. And it's I say Kern County, it's Bakersfield. If you don't know where that is, it's in the Central Valley in California. And so basically I asked, what got you involved in the first place, and she just said that she has always been actively involved in the community, and she And she said, honestly, this is her dream job, being able to get the word out about things that can make families better, help people individually in the community. She's loved it, and so that's that. And then, what are the most prevalent problems for families here in the community? Sadly, Bakersfield is has one of the highest STD rates, as well as one of the highest teen pregnancy rates in California. I think almost in the country too. Anyways, and so those are, and then they also have a pretty high drug addiction problem here. So it's a real fun place, but it is. But so those were she said those were the most prominent, but specifically talking in STDs and teen pregnancies were the biggest thing, relating to families and how there's just a lack of education, and therefore a lot of things are spiraling. And then how does how do you help children and families locally? Because these are the main problems, they do have a lot of programs and a lot of outreach, and they're trying to, I know they've started a class for teen moms to help them come in if if they do have a baby or are pregnant and cannot support themselves. They have a class to help them, teach them basics of, raising a child, really. They do have another program where they give away free car seats. Really, all you have to do is come in and apply and sign some paperwork, but they give free car seats out and free cribs out to those moms who can't afford it. They also have a program. Not only do they do the car seats, but they have car seat trainings. But they also have a really cool program where, and she's telling me about this and it was really cool, but they have a program where from the moment you're, I believe it's 6 months pregnant, and if you qualify under, I think you have to be under 19, but or at least below a certain income. But if you become pregnant and can't afford certain things, and you're not, you can't do certain things, they have a nurse come and check on you the whole end of your pregnancy in the first year that you have a child. So they come at least once a month, or maybe if you have more problems, they come once a week and help you and see how you're doing and kind of just make sure you're okay and the baby's okay. So they really are very very interactive in trying to help those problems, but not only help them that have already happened, but as well as prevent them. The next question I asked her was, do you feel your organization is child or family focused? And I kind of answered that in the last question, and I asked her, and she basically kind of gave the same answer. She just said that they have all these programs because they really do want to help and they really do want to make a change. And then what program? Another program what programs do you have in place to help children and adolescents in the county? Another program that they have is kind of like Journeys in a way, but it's called the California Children's Services, and it's a whole department within the Department of Health. And basically what its focus is until you're 21, if you have a child, if your child is under 21 and has a disability, they help you. They help you financially. They help you in schools, and they pretty much are with you every step of the way. You just have to apply and say, this is our situation. And I know they have conventions, and she was talking about how coming up they're having a convention where they all come in, and they have speakers come in about certain disabilities and how to best help your child. And so they're pretty active with not only children, or not only these teenage moms, or they're also very helpful with these children who have disabilities, and it's made a big difference. And that question I just asked was one of the ones from the chapter. And then the other question I asked that I came up with was, is it important that people stay in the Bakersfield community? Bakersfield is one of the fastest growing communities apparently right now, and California, so there's a lot happening. And there's a saying, apparently I'm not from here, but my husband is, and it's, we grow our own. And it's kind of funny because they're an agricultural community. But she even said it. She's like, we grow our own. We want these kids to have great educations here, have their families here, and maybe go to school here and work here, and then have their families and continue the cycle because, if they just keep leaving, then we are losing these valuable members of our community who really truly care about what happens here. So I thought that was really interesting. And I mean, it was a pretty short interview, but that's pretty much what I found out. Speaking of serving family, I have to go watch my niece because her mom is going to activity days and her dad's at work. Sorry I have to leave, and sorry I sounded so horrible during that whole thing, but I will talk to you guys next week.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Bye.
So shall we just a quick recap? We're just doing in our interviews. There's just sharing about that and the questions. So I think there are 3 people left to go. So would any of you like to volunteer?
I can do it.
Cool. Thanks, Jesse.
Okay. I interviewed Anne, who is the directing manager of the Haven in Idaho Falls. The Haven is basically a place for homeless families. The Haven caters to families, single moms with children, or even fathers with children, and even possibly mothers and fathers with children, but they have to have children at this particular homeless shelter. I asked her, what led you to be involved with the organization, with the Haven, in the first place? And she said that the thing that really led her to wanting to be a part of the organization was that she has a strong belief that people can change and deserve a new chance, a second chance. So that was a really strong motivating factor for her. I thought that was pretty admirable. What do you see are the most prevalent problems for families here in the community? And this would be the Idaho Falls area. And she says the problems are, she said, tons. She says there are just a lot of different varieties of problems and issues that lead people to be homeless. The main ones she mentioned were being undereducated, underemployed. Some could have drug use problems. There could be parenting issues, just a lot of different issues depending on the family and the circumstance. And the Haven kind of helps people with all those types of issues. How does the Haven help children and families locally? She says basically they help them get their lives back together. For example, they have, I think there are 24 little mini homes there. Basically it's a motel that has been converted into a place for families, and they do not charge any rent or utilities, and they allow people to teach them how to set goals. They have tutors for the children every afternoon. The children are picked up by the local schools on a bus and are taken to school, so they stay in school, and every day after they get home from school they have educational tutors that help them so that they can catch up on their schoolwork and become amongst their peers on the same level so they don't get behind in their education. One of the goals that each family has to have is that they have to have a job within 2 weeks of being there. So it's really important for them to get out into the community and find a job. And so they get those jobs, and then they help them budget and figure out how to save so that they can get a first and last month's rent for a home after they leave, that sort of thing. And they have a lot of classes that they help with, like teaching parenting skills, teaching self-esteem, teaching a variety of things that are needed by the people who are there. The next question was, do you feel your organization is child or family focused? In other words, does your organization strive to strengthen the family or to step in and help children where families are failing? She said mostly they are focused on the family at this particular homeless shelter. They're working on all of the lacking skills that particular family might be lacking. They meet with them one-on-one and they go through a list of things that would help them and their families. And so they feel like they are more focused on family. Another question I asked her was, how does the Haven help people overcome a feeling of helplessness or apathy when they feel like they've had no control over their events that have caused them to become homeless? She says that's to work on some of the issues that she mentioned earlier, like self-esteem. They focus on setting small goals and helping them accomplish those goals, and then they can set a little bit larger goals. So they kind of take it one step at a time so they can build on their successes and feel that they're ready to get back into the community. They really help them with the goal setting, going from small to big, and step by step and precept on precept, learning how to cope and how to regain the skills they need to be in a home and to be able to pay the bills and take care of things that they need to. I asked how they're funded, whether it was mostly public, private, or a combination. And she said that they're basically a combination. They get public grants and they get a lot of donations from private individuals and citizens throughout the community, and a lot of donations to help people. So I thought that was a really interesting organization that really does help families with their very most basic needs.
Cool, thanks, Jesse. Nicole or Shelby, would either of you like to go?
I'll tell you what I found. That'll give Shelby a good ending, right? So I'll read most of this off of what I typed. I have to get closer so I can see it. I interviewed a military child psychiatrist, and he oversees the mental and behavioral health in the area that we live in. So I asked him what the purpose of mental health teams in the military are, and he said it's to take care of the soldiers and their family members with emotional or mental health issues. And as a child psychiatrist, he's trained to help people of all ages, but the main focus is between the ages of 0 to 20. But he can see older and in a child psychiatry context, especially if the mental age falls within 0 to 20. But he is trained in to cover the whole lifespan. So I asked what the mission of the organization was, and he said it was to sustain the military capabilities within the soldiers and provide for their families so the soldier can perform his or her duties. What led you to get involved with this organization? That would be Military Mental Health, his organization. He said that he became involved with this because they paid for schooling, which is a big factor. That he also enjoys being a soldier, so he liked that aspect of it, and that he chose this profession over another that he was considering. He was considering being a surgeon because that gave him and his family a better lifestyle. And he also had a lot of interest and liked kids, so that was why he got involved with that. Most prevalent problems for families in our community, he said, are stressed out parents, distance from extended family members because we're overseas, and also post-war effects on the soldier and how that creates problems for family relationships also. How does this organization help children and families locally? He said locally there are family therapy, behavior therapy, adolescent and child alcohol prevention programs. And overseas, there's a team of social workers and therapists, a multidisciplinary team that works together to provide care for both individuals and families. In our community right now, he oversees EDIS, which works with developmental needs of children ages 0 through 3 in the school system. So there's kind of that connection with another community system at work. And he also works within the communities for family and children
by addressing healthcare issues at town hall meetings. I asked if he felt the organization was child or family focused, and he said both. Does your organization strive to strengthen the family or step in to help children where families are failing? And he said both. The main efforts of work is to evaluate and treat children for a child psychiatrist, but he's also trained to cover the whole family spectrum. So I guess in his work, he didn't feel like one was more important than the other. The families need their soldier and the soldiers need their families taken care of. The main needs, I asked him about the main needs in the community and in the organization that he works for, and he said there is never enough behavioral health professionals anywhere. And in this particular situation, if they do find more of the needed help that they have, more of the professionals, there's limited space for them even to work in. So those are some of the needs. They need more help and they need more space. I asked about the effectiveness of what he and his team do. And he felt like the military communities that they serve in provide an automatic central base for those living and serving in the area. So one of the really good things about it is that families have easy access to what's available to them. And the military provides a lot of different programs to support both child and family. And he thought that in comparison to the civilian world, that his efforts in the organization with the military provided easier access and more programs for families and children.
Awesome, thanks. All right, Shelby, go ahead and bring us home.
Okay, sorry I was late, you guys. I am back in Arizona, and Arizona doesn't change time zones. So I thought we were meeting at 7 o'clock my time again, but no, 6 o'clock. So I was so glad that your guys' chat ended and got messed up, because otherwise I would have had no idea. I would have just been barely logging on. So I will cut to the chase. Okay, so I interviewed, I'm just going to read here, so because I don't have it all memorized like you guys did. So I interviewed Courtney Kleiny Briel. I don't really know how to say her name. She's Vice President of Programs at Child Crisis Arizona. And when I asked her how she got or what led her to get involved with the organization, she said that she had worked in social services for about 16 years. And she worked with direct therapy for a long time and decided that as time went on that she could make a much bigger difference if she worked on a more broad spectrum. So she started working with Child Crisis of Arizona. And what they do is they serve, what she said is what she likes about them is that they serve the most vulnerable of our population, and it's children that are not able to advocate for themselves, which I feel like was a perfect fit from what we've been learning. And then one of the questions, let's see, it says, what do you see are the most prevalent problems for families here in the community? She said the biggest thing here in Arizona is out-of-home care, which is currently 21,000 kids. And all these kids need a foster or adoptive family, and there just isn't enough to go around. They encourage people to look into becoming foster parents and help children find a loving environment. Child Crisis of Arizona helps children and families locally by providing shelters to children being removed from their home by the Department of Child Safety, as well as to any parents in the community needing a respite to place their children with us or to help them deal with challenges. They also train and license foster families, provide adoption services, and run an early Head Start and a preschool program. They have an in-home visitation program where they can teach families some parenting skills and teach classes around the community on parenting. When I asked her if she felt that the organization was child or family focused, she said both, much like a lot of your organizations. She said depending on which of the programs that they offer that you're looking at, they work with children where the families are experiencing challenges while at the same time working with the family to teach them how to avoid or overcome those same challenges in the future. Now the two questions that I came up with on my own, let's see, were As a social worker or working in this field, have you been involved in a situation that moved you to advocate for families as opposed to working with direct therapy? And she said, although not personally being involved in abuse or I'm sorry, not personally being involved in abuse, she has said that she's seen a lot of problems in her time working in the social services field, and she spent 4 years as a CEO to a domestic violence agency and saw children and their parents fleeing some of the most horrific situations that one could imagine. The last question I asked her was, do you feel that your organization's success will continue to on and to grow, or do you feel that more organizations need to be founded in addition to your company to truly make a difference? And I thought that this was interesting, but she said she doesn't believe any more agencies really need to be founded, but just that there needs to be one larger agency that will grow and that will prosper and that everyone can go to kind of make it just a one-stop shop, I guess. So a place that can do the work and that has the infrastructure to be efficient. And I guess she said that that's what donors are looking for nowadays. So it was really interesting talking to her, and I'm hoping to do my internship there, just trying to figure out the logistics. But she was really great. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. I'm glad you made it on. So I guess for a quick wrap up, so I just noticed that we all had pretty vastly different groups. Every one of our groups seemed to cater to like a different population. But something that I thought was really interesting is that they all advocated the benefits of family-focused therapies, whether or not they felt like they also offered like specific child therapies. Many of us mentioned that they felt like focusing on the family was the most important way that they could help like both an individual and a family and a community. So kind of going back to the Bronfenbrenner's model that like by working really hard in one system, like many systems can be affected. So that was kind of like the overall theme that I took. And I think we'll go ahead and end with that. Okay.